feather. Other than the social Solomon, Indian is for the Indian is where extremists. The extremists came to the mainstream the politics of India after the December 1903 the Lord Curzon announced partition of Bengal in East Bengal with the capital at Dhaka and Bengal. The justification given for the partition of the Bengal was to be on the total British India. Thus it was difficult for the administration, but but the real motive was to weaken the Bengali nationalism by making the Bengal the minority in their state. The Bengali became the minority on the was the Hindi conquer of the religion in the East Bengal and where the majority of the population were Muslim. The extremists came to the night and when they began anti-partition campaigns and peaceful extremist leaders the state consequence the against the partition of the culture the partition. The articles in the newspaper Prithvi Chandra Ray wrote in the Hit Party, K.K. Mitra wrote in the Shamjivani, Surendranath Banerjee wrote in the Bengali. In July 1905, it was announced that the partition of Bengal will be effective from 16 October 1905. The protests against the decision of the partition of Bengal the extremists took the boycott resolution on the 2nd August 1905. On this day, Anand Mohan Bose and the Surendranath Banerjee addressed at half the gathering and for rupees 50,000 collect for the support of the boycott resolution. The boycott resolution was a resolution by the common people to not use the British border, specifically the Manchester and the Liverpool. So the Suburban boycott resolution turned into the Swadeshi movement as people decided to boycott the British product and use goods made in India. 16 October 1905, when the partition of the Bengal began, the effective was the observed as day of the mourning by the Bengal people who took the Ganga Abad song Bande Mataram and Kirtan to each other to show their unity. Some extremists led to the Swadeshi movement outside Bengal, to the Pune and the Bombay, Lala Lajpat Rai and the Ajit Singh Punjab, Sidambar Pillai in Madras, and the Syed Hyder Raja Delhi. The Banaras season of the INC Indian National Congress 1905 President Gopal Krishna Gokhale. INC was still dominated by the moderates. The INC took the decision to the support anti-partition movement and the Swadeshi movement extremists put two demands that the movement outside Bengal, the demand of the Swaraj from British. The moderate refused the two demands put by the extremist leader. Note: this was the first time the term the Swaraj was used by the Indian National Congress, but the Swaraj was not the divide. The Kolkata session of the season of Indian National Congress 1906, President Dadabhai Naoroji in this season the INC accepted the Swaraj for the Shah government is the employed emboldened the extremists. They witnessed the scope of the boycott government school collapse, and the service were now boycott. The extremist leader, the Aurobindo, and they said the political freedom is the lifeblood of the nation, make the administration impossible to the function. The emphasis was now on the Atma Shakti, the reliance now the extremists, the stated programs for the national education. The Aurobindo opened the National College in Kolkata National Council for the Education, whose later became the NCERT, was set up. The Bengal Institute of the Technology was set up. The Ashwini Kumar Dutta set up the Swadesh Dutta Samiti, and the volunteer force to the support the Swadeshi movement. The Tilak split the Swadeshi movement in the Maharashtra, the Gangavati and the Shivaji festival. There was a master participation in the Swadeshi movement. Women the participate by the picketing foreign shop. The students participate in the large number, but the Muslim did not participate as the participant would given the Muslim as the majority population in the East Bengal. So the majority of the Muslims were supporting the participation under the Nawab Salimullah of the Dhaka deputy president who participated the businesses. Rabindranath Tagore wrote Amar Sunar Bangla to the inspire the Swadeshi movement. It then later became the national anthem of Bangladesh. His brother Rabindranath Tagore inspired the Swadeshi movement by making the Mughal Ajanta and Rajput paintings. He moved away from the modern trend of the painting in Indian that was the Victorian and naturalism. The extremist leader when the suppressed minorities it led to the rise of the revolutionary nationalism finally in 1911. The partition of Bengal was the annulled. Bihar and Odisha tagged out of the Bengal, and Assam was made as a separate province. The basal Muslim population of the British was shifted to Delhi, but Muslims were not satisfied that the Muslim unhappiness with the British rule was the Lucknow Pact between Indian National Congress and Muslim League in 1916. The reason for the failure of the Swadeshi movement, the Savar government, the suspension, the Surat split 1907 between the moderate and the extremists, the Aurobindo Ghosh and the Bipin Chandra two important extremist leaders, the retiring from active politics and the different the perception of the leader about the Swaraj, the Aurobindo, the Tilak, and the some sort of the self-government, the religions urban like the Gangavati festival to the Swadeshi movement restricted the social as the mainly Muslim did not participate. The Surat season of the Indian National Congress 1907 known as the Surat split President Raj Bihari Ghosh. In 1905, the moderates decided that the Swadeshi movement should not take outside Bengal and the constitutional method be the adopted for the protest. This the hashtag the extremists, but they respect Gopal Krishna Gokhale, so the remain claim. In 1906, and the extremists again and the who opposed the taking the government outside Bengal, uh, but were against the rejected, but they the gift would due to the other by narrowing, but the acceptance of the Swaraj in the Begu from the Ambulance and the extremists, they started to the emphasis on Atma Shakti. Now the moderate were told by the British government that in the new council reform is to come in 1990. The moderate leader then decided to the withdraw Swadeshi. When it was announced in the meeting, many extremists protested, and someone also the outlet show at the Raspberry Coast. The extremist leader was expelled from the Indian National Congress for this the unruly behavior. It is known as a swap split. The British used the policy of cannot and stick the moderate way show the carrot of the reform with the board in the 1909, while the extremists who were the expelled were given the stick by the Britisher. The British government brought the massive crackdown on extremists and the British used the policy of the carrot and the stick. The moderate way show the carrot of reform to be the book in the 1909, while the extremists who were expelled were given a stick by the British government and the border massive the crackdown on the extremist board. Some new laws like the Sedition Meeting Act, Indian Newspaper Act, Indian Press Act, and the Criminal Law Amendment Act. The Tilak was the sentenced to the 6 year and the sent to the Rangoon in Burma jail, and Aurobindo and the British people were the fabricate in the Manikatala conspiracy case. They gave in the understand that they will now not remain active in the politics than the British left them. The Aurobindo took the spiritual path after that, and the professor the new yoga called the intricate yoga. Lala Lajpat Rai won the award. This the suppress of an extremist leader. The suppression of the extremist leader led to rise of the revolution, the nationalism, the revolution nationalism, the contact underground, the actives to the uh, disrupt the British administration through the violent means. The revolution nationalism the study in three phases: the before World War One and the during World War One and after World War One, and the revolution nationalism before World War One and the Bengal, the Calcutta and the Onushilan Summit in 1902, the established by the Jatindranath Banerjee, the Pramod Mitra and the Barindra Ghosh. There was the inner cycle of the name Yugantra. The Yugantra was a revolutionary group set up by the Virendra Ghosh and the Bhupendra Datta. The Yantra groups that tried to kill led the Governor Health of Bengal, the Secret Society, by the Sachin Sanwat and the Rash Bihari Bose. They threw the bomb at the Mysore, the Harding in 1912, and the Khudiram Bose and the Popolo Saki, and the throw the bomb at the George the King's Fort. This is known as the Alipore conspiracy case or the Manikdala conspiracy case. The Decca অনুশীলন Summit in 1908 by the Pulin Das the Committee Bara Dikodi and the Sandhya and the Ugentra, the weekly newspaper in the Bengal by revolutionary. The Kal weekly newspaper in Maharashtra by the revolution. Maharashtra. Ramosi Crescent Force 1879 by the Vasudeva Balwant Phatke. Bal Gangadhar Tilak published two newspapers in Maratha in English and the Kesari in Marathi. He is the advocate violence in this newspaper. The Chapakar brother, the Damodar and the Balkrishna killed the Telugu commissioner and the led the IRS in 1904. And the Savarkar found the Mitramala in 1899. He killed the Nashik PM Junction. It is known as the Nashik Conference case. Later, the reorganized the Mitramala to the Orvindro Bharat in 1904. The Abhinav Bharat was in the line with the young Italy of the Majini, Punjab. Lala Lajpat Rai the published newspaper The Punjabi and the supported violence. The Ajit Singh published the Anjuman I the Mohisban I Watan and the Bharat Mata and the Madhan Lal Dingara killed the Karjan Wali in 1909 and the revolutionary activities abroad. The Shamiji Kishan Meraman. He established Indian House in London. He the published journal The Sociologist and the Savarkar Madan Lal Dingara took the shelter in London House and the Madam Bikaji Kama published the Bande Mataram in Paris, Geneva. Birendranath and the Chhattopadhyay published in the Talwar in Germany. Indian Council Act 1909 or the Morley Minto Reform. The reaction to the Swadeshi movement in October 1906, the Muslim group called the Shimla deputation led by the Agha Khan met the Lord Minto and the request that the Muslim representation in the Imperial Legislative Council should be more than their population because of the extraordinary service to the empire. December 1906, Muslim League followed by the Nawab Salimullah won the decade. Later it was taken over by the Aga Khan on the request of the Muslim League separate the electorate to the Muslim was provided by the Indian Council Act 1909 and the provision of the Indian Council Act 1909. The elected member, non-official member, the number was the increase in both the imperial and the provincial legislative council. In the provincial level, non-official majority was given while the official majority was retained at the central level. The election was the indirect through the local bodies. The separate electorate for the Muslim British the landlord were the awarded the separation the electorate was the seen by the Pakistan. The one Indian member was the added for the first time in the history in the Executive Council. He was the Swatendra Prasad Sinha. He is known as a law minister. The power of the Legislative Council was enlarged. Now there is a full scope for some the uh, items of the budgets. They could ask the supplementary question. The Indian Council Act 1909 was the citizens by the INC because of the separate electorate it was and the attempt to the weaken Indian national movement. By 1914, the past World War in 1914 to 1918, the movement in Europe, the Britain, the France, Russia, USA, Italy, Japan was on uh, one side while the Germany and Austria, Hungary, Turkey was on the another side. Now, Indian National Congress was the divided. The moderate who must support the Britain as our the duty. The extremist, the Tilak was released from the Rangoon in 1914 and Lalpat Rai had the returned from the Europe also to supported the British in shock of the some the payback for the loyalty. The revolution, nationalism, peace is and the opportunity to the attack is the British Empire. The important revolution activities during World War One and the Gather party inside the French US and the other centered in the Vancouver, the Canada. It is the leader, the Lala uh, Hardial. The Pomogata Maru ship incident in 1914. It was a Japanese ship. It was going from the Singapore to the uh, Vancouver, Canada. It had the 376 and Muslim Punjabi passenger. It was the return from the Canada because of the new Canadian the immigration law that did not allow the Asian people to the enter it. This law was brought by the Canada on the insistence of the British. The British issued this the order for the safety during World War One. The ship returned to the barges and the barges port in the Calcutta. The British the officer was forcefully the sending the passengers back to Punjab. This led to the place and the 22 passengers died. The gatherers decided to drag and the revenge of the Pomagata Maru incident. The Carter Singh, the Sarabha and the uh, Raghuveer Joel Gupta were sent to Indian by the Lala Hardial. In Indian, they were supported by the Rash Bihari Bose and the Sachin Sandhya. The report was the plan on 21 October 1915 at the Lahore and the Rawalpindi Revolution. But the report was foiled due to the tendency Ras Bihari Bose escaped to the Japan, while the Sachin Sanyal was deported to the Rangoon. In the March 1915, the government and the basis the defense of Indian flag 1915 to the handle any further report by the Gadaris, the Birendranath Chakrabarti, the gathered the support from the Germany against the British. The German Foreign Office met the Zimmermann plan to the support Indian against British. The Jotin Mukherjee known as the Baga. Baghra's in 1915 the capture for the William of the Calcutta, but he was killed by the Britishers in the separate in the September 1915 near the Balasore at Orissa coast. The Singapore soldier, the mutant in 1915 in the Singapore 1815 Indian soldier of British Army revolt against the officer due to the Kumagata Meru incident. All the revolutionary activities during World War One uh, were suppressed by the British. Home rule the Lango the movement during World War One. During World War One, many the colonies of the Britain resisted the Home Rule League to put the pressure on the British the government. The annexation, the Indian Advocate Rule League in the Indian in the line with the Irish Home Rule League. She the published two newspapers, the Commonwealth and New India. That said, they now supported Home Rule League, but the other suggestion for the Home Rule League got no the support from Indian National Congress. So Manda Tilak and any reason they said the separate the Home Rule League, the Tilak Home Rule League. They started in the April 1916. It had the six branches in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Central Province. Its main demand was the Swaraj. The inhibition hormone they said in September 1960. It had the 200 centers. The Yogi Ornals was it is the organization the secretaries. Many Congress leaders joined the Home Rule League, but the Muslims did not join it because though it was the mainly the Hindu initiative.